morning. This video is for Friday, March 20th, and we are going to be covering pages 252 and 253. We're still talking about the Aztec Empire. We discussed a little bit about that yesterday, and one of the things we said, and remember I told you that I was going to ask you some questions, so hopefully you know these answers, is why did the Aztecs try to repay their gods with human sacrifice and blood offering? Aztecs believed, this would be your answer, and hopefully you remember this, that the gods had sacrificed themselves to create people and the world, so they thought that they should go ahead and do the same for them. Another question I asked is, why did the Aztecs offer human sacrifices to the sun god? Anybody know that answer? Let's see. I'm gonna call on Caleb. Do you know that answer, Caleb? They believed, Caleb and everybody else, that the sun god had a tremendous appetite for blood and human hearts. They needed to appease him to protect their very existence. Kind of gross, huh? Anyway, we also talked about how, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. We talked about how can it be fair if somebody never hears the gospel or knows? And God's created a way, whether they hear it by word of mouth or through creation, God says that they are without excuse. None of us deserve salvation. Not anybody, not the person who's in the deepest, darkest jungles of Africa or India or Europe or even America. None of us deserve salvation because of our sin. But God chose to save us by sending his son Jesus to die on the cross for us. But the thing is, even though he's done that, so many people in this world and in America especially have rejected him and don't want anything to do with him. And that is a sad thing. It's a concept. So we kind of like push God out of the way. So one of the things we'll talk about today is social classes. And I want you to think about these questions as we talk. What social classes were found in the Aztec civilization and who were expected to support the ruler, and who were the common people? Who were the people? You know, I talked a lot about how the common people or the peasants were the backbone of a certain civilization because they had to do all the work to make it successful. So before I begin the lesson, I want you to pause this video and I want you to read really quickly pages 252 to 253, and I'll wait. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. All right, Zane, I know that you've read this, and we're talking about the social classes and, you know, their capital, the Aztec capital. I practice pronouncing it, and I'm not even going to do it live because I will mess it up. I can't say this word very well. But they weren't much different than the Mayan Empire. They had the same kind of beliefs. They sacrificed themselves. They, you know, they worshiped nobility. They believed that the nobles were chosen by the gods. Okay, and so the people there were expected to pay tribute to these gods, to these, you know, kings and queens, kings. And so they would have to work. So basically, one of the things, and we've learned this through Japan, and we've learned this through a lot of the Asian things, that it was always, it was important for them to serve the king, to serve their gods, whether it be a warrior or something. That's what they wanted to do. From the very time when they were little, that was what they felt that they owed their king. And you're going to see the pictures of how they did that, what it meant to be a warrior during this time. Another thing is we have the common people, which included the artisans and the soldiers, the laborers, the farmers, the merchants, and they were expected to also support the nobles. Women worked hard at home and took care of the children while the men went out to war and did what they had to do. The economy was built on hard work. It did really well. They built dikes. You know, dikes are walls that keep water in. And that was very, very important because you didn't want to drown anybody. The one thing that I do want you to see is if you look at that picture, the Mendoza Codex shows the strict parental training of discipline of children. And it's kind of hard to see portrayed because they use hieroglyphics just like the Egyptians. But if you look at it, you can see the picture. On the very first picture, on row 1, basically a youth or a little kid is forced to inhale smoke from a chili pepper fire. And this got them to burn their nose and their eyes and got them to cough. This punishment would burn them and basically, you know, make them hurt. That's cruel and unusual. I mean, a parent doing that. The next one, you can see like a boy is bound in you know, whatever, there would be chains or leather or whatever, and he was to lie on an uncomfortable surface such as wet soil. I don't know about you. I grew up getting spanked for when I did wrong, okay? But my dad never beat me. I just knew it was more of discipline, and I was spanked. We don't really spank kids much these days, but there's other forms of punishment, and I see that some parents will go one route and the other. That's okay. But this right here was like torture. And I can't imagine a parent wanting to torture their child, because that doesn't bring respect. That brings fear. And the Bible talks about provoking not your children to wrath. You don't want to bring fear to your children. They were advanced in their language and their technology. Like I said, they used hieroglyphics to show the things that they could do back then. And then I will probably stop there as far as the discussion, but when you are going back and reading again for yourself, I just want you to think about some of the things that the Aztecs did, like what products were made to support their economy. And I wanted to also let you know that I am foregoing the activity manual because it's too hard to give your parents the corrections, and I don't want to, like I said, ping them with a bunch of information. So don't worry about the activity manual. If you can, write 2 or 3 sentences about what you learned during the lesson, whether it's from what I said or from what you read, and you can send it to me through Remind, or you can just send it, you know, wait a whole week and then send the pictures. I mean, send the information for each day, whatever. You're not going to be graded per se on it. I just want to know that you are getting something, okay? If you have any questions, your parents can reach me through Remind, and I hope you have a great weekend. I will see you when I see you. Mwah.